Very good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the ADA and the Cosmos AI webinar on retail. Today, we will be talking about recovering from a post-pandemic world through the eyes of a retailer. As all of us are experiencing, the lockdowns and the COVID have really affected our lives, and especially as consumers and as retailers. In a way, we are suffering the most. What we're going to talk about today, we want to really understand how COVID and the lockdowns impacted our lives, but also we want to have a look at what happened in other parts of the world. Today, most of you are coming from South and Southeast Asia, and we will cover that. And also we will have a look into China and Hong Kong. As you know, China and Hong Kong have started the pandemic before everybody else, and also they got out of the pandemic before everybody else. So we will try to draw some lessons learned from it. Let me introduce the speakers for the day. We've got a great array of people presenting. Starting with myself, I will be your moderator for the day. I'm Vittorio Furlan. I'm the head of business insights for ADA. And as part of my job, I have the pleasure of understanding customer behavior and customer insights. I'm calling out of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia today, as well as Adrian Tan. Adrian Tan is the head of retail. He looks after our offerings for online and offline retail. And Adrian spent most of his career in consulting. Today, we're also blessed to have Zoe Cheng and Roger Khan from Cosmos AI. Zoe is the head of growth, and she spent most of her career in marketing. And Roger, a digital native, is in charge of customer success for Cosmos, and he will share some interesting stories with us. Let me also introduce the companies that are present in this webinar. ADA is the largest outcome-based data and AI company. We have presence in 9 countries in the South and Southeast Asia. And one of the most important assets that we have is our data and AI models. We created a series of models to target specific industries. And we do that by using and processing around 375 million consumers in South and Southeast Asia. So all the information that today you will see in Adrian Tan's presentation are actually coming out of this database. Let me also introduce Cosmos AI. Cosmos understands, predicts, and influences how people shop offline. They claim to be, and they are, the Amazon for offline. Cosmos understands how people move inside the shopping mall, within the stores and in between the aisles, and they understand what a customer is after. And they do so by processing around 1 billion customers. And that's why Cosmos and ADA formed a partnership to create the best customer experience through a deep knowledge of customers in the South and Southeast Asia. Now, I'm really keen to hear from our presenters today, but before we get to that, I would like to remind all of you to submit your questions through the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom page. At the end of the webinar, we will have 10-15 minutes to answer your questions. So please don't be shy and submit your questions as we go along. Now, before I hand it over to Adrian, I really wanted to hear from you, engage how you, audience, have been impacted by COVID, especially in terms of your behavior as buyers in retailers. So let me pop off the first poll. I'll let you have a look, take 20 seconds and answer. Few responses are trickling in. Another 5 seconds. and I'm going to share the results with you. I'm sure that everybody's guessing what the response is. And well, let me show you what the response is. The vast majority of you are going to the mall less often, as you probably would expect because of the situation. And none of you in this group goes there more often. So let's see how this one resonates with the analysis that we have carried out at ADA and Cosmos AI. And let me hand over to Adrian. Over to you, Adrian.
Thank you very much, Vittorio. I think in today's retail landscape, whether pre-COVID or post-COVID, if that exists yet, retailers are facing unprecedented times and demand spikes due to volatile customer demands. External factors such as the economy, and at this moment, the pandemic has highlighted the ever-increasing need for retailers to be able to predict and manage demand. The ability to be able to not only meet and predict demand is also coupled by the harsh reality of fulfilling customers' expectations. And if that isn't enough, customers are even less loyal than before. People are more willing to try different brands, but the bright side of that is that brands that have a loyal customer base, consumers are even more likely to purchase from you, which saw an uptick of 50%. So with these in mind, we were curious. We were pushing the boundaries a little bit, and we asked ourselves these questions. Have these challenges changed during the pandemic? Have consumers changed? So curiosity kind of piqued our interest in wanting to explore this. I wanted to know how major recovering Southeast Asian countries, consumer online, and some mobility behaviors have changed during the peak of the lockdowns to right now, where we are somewhat recovering. I say that with irony because in KL now we have a semi-lockdown that's happening, but we are recovering in some way or another. So welcome to 2020, where the retail consumer has totally rewritten the books of any retail book out there that somewhat resemble the how do I reach the retail consumer. A world where we see about 47% decrease in offline consumer purchases, about 30% increase in online spending, and where Gen Y and millennials are taking over the retail space by moving online. Our observations have also included very distinct sentiments online on how food delivery and online purchases have somewhat revolutionized our daily aspects in life and how embedded they are in our lives. Another observation is that the consumers out there are more likely to be brand switchers, but somehow still turn to reliable brands. Another key interesting observation is that consumers travel relatively long trips, though infrequent, like the poll mentioned, we travel less nowadays, to their destination of choice. So when we did our analysis of online and offline behaviors in Southeast Asia, here for Malaysia, we like to think we are in recovery mode. In particular, over the course of 7 months, we have seen a steady peak of video views with a peak during the month of July. When things were already recovering, potentially due to like brands willing to try new things and pivoting to new channels that have not been active previously. So the engagement by users have also spiked incredibly during restrictive periods, which were between March till May. What it means is that numbers of likes, dislikes, and comments have remained higher than ever before the lockdown. What we see is that the numbers of video engagements are not seen to be going down anytime soon. And it could be potentially a route to not only engage through videos, but also to see how we could continuously automate. Like with some of our clients engaging to more AI tools in engagement and hyper targeting, and also the element of customer service and support at these times are very essential. Let's then now zoom into our neighbors down south in Singapore. We see an interesting trend pre and post circuit breaker. To those of you who don't know circuit breaker, that's the lockdown. In an odd observation of a rise of percentage of retail customers traveling more than 9 kilometers to retail outlets from their home or work locations post-lockdown. Maybe potentially escaping cabin fever or sick of the outlet nearby or the old junkie that's downstairs. Though there is a rise in behavior of people going to places further away, overall, we do, however, see a drop in consumers in general going out. To mitigate this phenomenon, I think some of the companies that we see now are implementing a faster and seamless delivery function with shorter wait times, with further locations, which not only helps the economy slowly recover, but in essence, engage with customer trends that is evident as we see in this graph. Let's look at some of our neighbors who are somewhat still experiencing some sort of a lockdown or started late in Indonesia and the Philippines. So the phone freaks are in town, at least seen in the retail outlets post-lockdown. Who are the phone freaks? So they are basically those who are really into customizing their phones and experiences on their mobile devices, whether is it wallpaper, ringtones, keyboards, themes, or even emojis. I've been guilty of playing around with emojis recently as well. I think in this example, what you don't see here is the main users of devices for these retailers are Samsung or iPhone users. And they are customizing phones like ever before. These shoppers have very keen eye on personalization and experience. Consider perhaps like optimizing your retail outlet apps for their shopping experience, or perhaps even consider using Samsung Pay or Apple Pay because you know their profiles, or even e-wallets. Now everyone is going to the no-touch society that we live in now and social distancing. I think it's a great time to actually explore these options as well. One thing we are good at, perhaps you could consider making ads that make a difference to them. Show these consumers that personalization and experiences are at their fingertips. Who let the health freaks and junkies out? We did some research to some of the recovering countries that are somewhat out of the lockdown. We see like they are coming out from jail. There was an increase in Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand where they are being seen in the major retailers and malls in those countries. They've started going to the gym. Well, I need to for sure. Or they've perhaps been roaming around grocery stores, the organic section, or maybe perhaps having a cheat day at a fast food restaurant within these malls. So what we've been seeing from some of the retailers is that they are also starting to incorporate some form of health promotion strategy into the overall advertising campaign of their products. This, of course, in hopes that they will potentially attract the health junkies, therefore allowing for a new market segment for their brand. Maybe it's a good time to pivot, right? Some outlets have also like incorporated some sort of partnership with anchor grocery tenants in engaging them throughout the week because they know they are there through Facebook on healthy options, vegetables and whatnot. Like me, I can give you an example. The wife will nag me to buy some vegetables the next time I go to the gym. Why? She's seen it the whole week before our HIIT class. So I guess targeting done right, you get the biggest influencer to kind of make you buy, well, veggies, in this case, necessary items. We also took some liberty to do some mobility analytics pre and post MCO. This is in Malaysia, around the shopping malls in Kuala Lumpur. If you look at the graphs, the redder it is, the more dense the population is. And the green means that the density is really light. And in this page, you see that there is no clear winner. If you look at it, it's a lot more dispersed in terms of movement pre-COVID and post-COVID. Everyone is suffering. People in Malaysia are less dispersed as they are before the movement, and people are moving less. So no one is having an upper hand for sure. And if they are going out, they're going out with a purpose. Because window shopping is dead for now. People are going out for more functional reasons now. From the great yesteryears of window shopping, wining and dining, fashion shopping, people have moved towards replenishing groceries. People are still eating, trust Malaysians, sure eat one, and purchasing personal care products. In fact, there's a huge surge in traffic for purchases of beauty products and people going to beauty shops You find it odd, the other day I was looking for hairspray at one point during MCO, it was sold out. Why hairspray for me? I'm not sure. But people are also spending a lot less time at retailers, from the average of 2.5 hours to 1 hour 50 on average. So gone are the days of impulsive shopping in the last 40 minutes. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there is a lot of data out there on online behaviors and offline behaviors. And the behaviors of people pre and post pandemic have changed. Even my taste buds have changed. I'm starting to like a little bit more vegetables. At ADA, we always emphasize on over communicating, because at these times where things pivot and change so frequently, we have to always remind ourselves constantly to not knee-jerk, no knee-jerk reactions. Don't go into something that you're totally unfamiliar with. Pivot with caution, use data, learn from your neighbors, look at recovering or recovered countries, but at the same time, still try to be ahead of your competition. Don't get too influenced as well by the newest and greatest tech out there. Stick to the basics, get those right. It's also a great time to kind of reflect what can be improved with technology. We have seen many clients embarking on digital, but come somewhat falling short or failing from a variety of reasons that don't support that charge. So also time to reflect internally. The other thing is to get the science and intuition right. Use data, but at the same time, use your business intuition. You didn't get there without your intuition, but at the same time, invest in data, invest in things that can support your decisions. Engage with your customers, constantly tell them you're still there. Remember the words reliable brands? So continuously engage them, whether with videos, messages, posts. That can be a fraction of a cost in no time at all. Let us know, we can help you, our shameless plug there. And also lose in the right areas. Cut the fat in the right areas. One of our first webinars at ADA during the pandemic was about how we optimize marketing budgets by knowing the right audiences, the right messaging, the right platforms, all supported by data. And overall, I guess, in my final sentence, say, invest in areas or tools that can really support your decisions, whether for analysis, whether it's for social listening, or in this case, maybe we should all look east.
Thank you, Adrian. I love the fact that you're eating more vegetables. So hi, everybody. This is Zoe, and I think Bea also mentioned earlier, I'm the head of growth of Cosmose. Today, I will take you through a little bit about what China and Hong Kong has gone through. I'm based in Hong Kong, and so is my colleague Roger. But our company covers a lot on the offline data in China and in Hong Kong. Before I go into my session, I actually want to do a quick poll as well. But I just want to give you a bit of background. I think Adrian has explained, why it is important to understand what other countries are doing, because China and Hong Kong were in fact the ones that were had the first cases, and in retail in China was down about 144 billion at the beginning of COVID, because like other countries, all the stores were shut, and there was a whole full country lockdown. So yeah, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. We want to look and see in China specifically, which industry do you think is the least affected after the rebound? So I'm gonna put a poll right now, and you will see the poll now. And let me know your thoughts. We'll have it for another 10 seconds. So very different answers, very interesting. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the poll now. Last time, okay. So I'm gonna share the results. Interesting. So, the answer is not luxury, and luxury is actually not the one that is increased the most. In fact, the one that is, least the most, the one that is in China that is least affected, actually, obviously was personal care and also restaurants. So that there you go. And I'll share more about why retail was actually suffering a lot. So for this slide, I wanted to share with you, basically, we took a closer look at the different sectors, and we actually saw that at the beginning of the overall outbreak of the pandemic, the spending overall has significantly reduced, except personal care, and we all know why, because we had hand sanitizers, masks, this type of things that was in a lot of need. I still remember during that time, because we had our engineering office in Poland, and at that time Europe had no COVID cases. We had to ship masks all the way from Poland to our Hong Kong and our China team, just so that we can get enough. But in contrast, when we look at F&B, nutrition and medicine, actually those items obviously have been increased. So, we saw that once everything was going back to normal, the spending had resumed slightly. And, and like in the poll I was mentioning, actually restaurants, online entertainment, and F&B, food and beverage actually went up almost immediately. And those with limited effect were items like electronics, alcohol, and fitness equipment. Luxury is a really hard one, because from what we observe, even after COVID, the rebound is relatively slow. And we work with actually a lot of luxury clients all over in China, Hong Kong, and in Japan. And yes, their spending has gone down a lot, but they're trying very hard to see what they can do to bring the customer back. And especially in China for festive seasons like May Golden Week, and also the recent Golden Week, October 1st, to lure the luxury shoppers. So we'll share more examples later. So here, I wanted to also share with you the percentage of the expenditure for your reference during the academic. I will show an after one later. As again, you can see with those industry with limited effect, and those in high demand were obviously like online entertainment, supplements brands, and almost all the categories were reduced. And if we look at the aftermath, right? Now, obviously, companies in different sectors in China have reacted very differently. Some faced higher loss demand like tourism and hospitality, while other face other face delayed demand such as the different consumer goods. For the latter, I think they have been preparing the recovery a lot by capitalizing an increase in the customer demand. And actually, also, when we're looking at how consumers are behaving as well, we can just see that from the lockdown. Actually, after the lockdown, people were already have this kind of mentality and mindset where they are going on shopping revenge, and because they are traveling even a lot more, and dining out even a lot more. So when Hong Kong actually was done with the lockdown for the first week, I remember calling the restaurants up, and actually all the restaurants that were good were all full. So, we could see that, these sectors actually, pivot very quickly. So, like what Adrian's team has put together, they were talking about how the consumers were behaving. From our observation in China, actually, when we looked at, you look at the data, combining some of the data of Cosmose offline behavioral data, we know that coronavirus has created a new landscape of shopping behaviors for for them, especially the channels that they look at. However, but when we looked at solid data, we still see that actually people are still buying offline. From the original split, usually before pre-COVID, it's about 20% online and then maybe 80% offline. And with the shift of with COVID, obviously it's people have migrated online a bit, but we can see that still it's about 60-40. And when you look at this graph, people are still going to supermarket, people are still but at the same time they'll still buy in e-commerce or O2O delivery. So then again, very similar in a way, but this also shows that offline is not dead. Then going into the luxury sector specifically, because we work with a lot of luxury brands, we took a closer look in the luxury sector. And of course, people would actually think that they are the ones that are they're not immune, or they're immune to all of this, but they're not. In fact, I think they are suffering the most based on the research and the data that we're able to collect. And when we look at luxury consumption, especially in China, most of the luxury consumption actually comes from China. So brands such as Burberry and also, Prada, Richemont, actually have over 25% of their sales are in China. And because of COVID during that time when a lot of things has paused and stopped, that has really affected their business. And it became very obvious that they had to do something about it and try to bounce back as quickly as possible. So just in Golden Week, just a few days ago, that we had a lot of clients and coming to us and wanting to use Cosmose technology to very precisely target luxury shoppers who are traveling or potentially traveling. Which kind of leads me to the next slide, when we're talking about once the pandemic is slowly going away in China, what are they doing? They are traveling and they're shopping again. This is a graph that has shown that actually from the pandemic in February and then going actually January, February, the number has obviously decreased significantly, but we can see that the bounce back rate was relatively high right after. And when we look at May and October, which are two of the major festivals in Greater China, a lot of the people are already starting to travel, and especially to the destination in Sanya, which is Hainandao, which is basically the Hawaii of China. And we saw that from a hotel sales and also hotel, I would say, stay, and their revenue has gone up by more than 31% in just that period, which says a lot about how they're moving and how they're willing to travel again. So I think it's something for us to look forward to, and obviously once the pandemic in Southeast Asia or all across the world is settled, this will be something that we will know people will travel again for sure. Then we also have the opportunity to look at the traffic evolution in Hong Kong specifically as well. As you know, Hong Kong is a very dense population, and what we wanted to do is also to share with you some of the insights that we found in Hong Kong. Before I go in, we're going to do another poll quickly. So the questions that we're going to be doing is, which industry do you think is the most affected in Hong Kong? So I'm going to share the poll now, and you can now see the poll on screen, and please answer these questions. Is it luxury? Is it restaurant? Is it pharmaceutical? What do you think? I'm going to close the poll in just 5 seconds, and if you can answer for me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to end the poll right now. So luxury is, let me just share the result with you guys. So 40% actually answered luxury, 33% restaurants, and 13%. So interesting. In fact, yes, actually, luxury is one of the most affected industry in Hong Kong. If you used to come to Hong Kong very often, you will know that there's a lot of luxury shops in Harbor, in City, in Tsim Sha Tsui or in the Causeway Bay area, actually because of COVID and also because of the combination of, we had the protest during last year and throughout this year, luxury has really suffered, and almost a few luxury stores have even closed down their store in Causeway Bay, and even some in Tsim Sha Tsui. So, but anyways, I will show you a little bit more in details on how we've been observing the different traffic. So here we gathered some shopping mall traffic index in Hong Kong. We actually looked at if some of you are familiar on the malls, obviously Hong Kong is also a place where a lot of people would go to shopping malls to do their shopping, restaurants, and so forth. Now, we took the shopping mall, but we actually looked into the store level, and we're able to look at the industry as well. Just to let you know, when we use Cosmose data, we actually looked at this. This is the entire process, but I want to give you a little background because you might not know what was the wave and the situation of the COVID cases. So firstly, COVID cases was found, the first case was found in January 2nd, which when you can look at the graph is still relatively high. Once the media obviously had, talked a lot about this case, and it further escalated from February and March, you can see there was already a slight dip on this. Now, government then prohibited group gathering in March 29th, and this is when we also saw a major dip once again, and it kind of gone on for then the few months because of the lockdown. Now, until we had the 0 case that was in the 20th of April around, and also till May 12th, the social distancing policy was lifted. So you can see there was a small increase, but people were still very cautious. And when the third wave began again, which was even more, I would say it's a little bit more scary because you couldn't find the trace. So it was in July 14th, and that's when the government even banned all-day dining. And obviously restaurants were suffering, and at one point there was 2-person limit. So this really showed, comparatively to what was happening, and when we looked at our own data, it really reflected. And you can see even now, like the data is showing that the shopping mall level is going quite low. The mass mall, in comparison to the premium malls, are less affected. Why? Because mass malls is something that it's like kind of like a neighborhood mall, right? So if you need to buy something, you go to supermarket, you will just go buy. But luxury malls like Harbor City, some of the even K11, so those are the bigger malls, are kind of destination malls, are largely affected because they people just don't want to go out. It's out of their way to travel. So in this slide, overall categories, when we observed the different categories in industry, we saw that obviously everything had dropped, and we all know the reason, because of the pandemic. But when we compared some of the numbers and what we found, actually the pharmacy, restaurant, supermarket was a little bit more resistant at the beginning of the year. Now, with people also earlier, you guys also have voted that restaurants were also suffering. In fact, they were fine until July. That's when the restaurant really started to suffer a lot more, and especially clubs as well. All of those were closed. But from an industry perspective, when we were observing the data from our database, we actually thought that beauty brands were going to be worse than luxury in some sense, because people are wearing masks, and so because they're wearing masks, maybe they will not really put on makeup as much. At least for myself, that's what I thought. And but we actually found that the beauty brands were performing a little bit better than expected. So they only dropped 73% versus baby apparel and luxury products had dropped around 70 to 80%. So this is what we observed from an offline perspective. Earlier, obviously, V also explained what Cosmos, a little bit of what Cosmos is about. I'm just going to do a quick introduction so you know how we capture the data. So we are an offline data behavioral technology that is able to understand, predict, and influence how 1 billion people are shopping offline. Why 1 billion people? Because we have 1 billion device that we are tracking. And how do we kind of look at these mobile movements is really through the device, I guess the mobile phones that people are using. And we work together with partner applications to then link where people are. Once we know where people are, we are able to help brands or companies to help them to retarget them on social media and online. And then we have the capability of also tracking them, whether they have been back to your own store or visited your online store. Our technology has been recognized by Forbes, Business Insider, CNBC, and why people are choosing Cosmos comparatively is because we have bigger scales. We can actually even target your competitors if we need to, and we have a very high accuracy of 1.6 meters. So that's a little bit about Cosmos, and I'm gonna pass to my companion Roger, who is very experienced in helping brands to actually survive this COVID in China and in Hong Kong. So he will share with you the best practice of how to survive during COVID. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you, Soyi. Thank you, Soyi. Hi, everyone. I'm Roger. I'm also based in Hong Kong. Today, I want to share with you 3 cases. But before we go into details, I would like to share you why leveraging on offline data. As COVID-19, it is affecting every single market, especially in APAC, which is our population dense regions. People are spending more time with family or work at home during the lockdown. On top of that, they also spend more time online. So it is the best time to reconnect with your consumer, to show your support, empathy during this tough time. Data kicks in, as we could understand better people's shopping behavior before the pandemic period. You can imagine how people visit the store has much higher intention to buy compared to people just search for it online. It is a time for brand to pursue our omni-channel strategy to bring offline to online. Today, I want to share with you 3 cases. One is coming from retail brands, one is coming from shopping mall, one is coming from hospitality. So they are all coming from different markets. I would like to walk you through how they convert the challenges into success during the period of COVID-19. So to get started with, let's start with China first. This is a case from Gap China. It is one of the award-winning cases we work with Gap in China. During the COVID period, people has less incentive to go out, that's of course, but also spend more time online. So were the competitor, they also think how to target people when they are doing researching, how to buy clothing when they are during the lockdown periods. So the question to Gap is how to make sure people to go and buy to take advantage of location data. So the campaign objective is to target people to shops, both online and offline. We want to be more precise on targeting. So we want to target people who have been to the Gap store in past 3 months before the pandemic period. And to make it more precise, we also study whether this group of the people they swing between Gap store and the competitor store, like H&M, Zara, or Uniqlo. People are checking out this store constantly are very likely to buy, even if they are in the lockdown periods. In order to connect with the potential customer, Gap has prepared a special promotion code for people to buy online or visit their physical store. So the idea is we want to measure how many people who go to the online as well as offline store after seeing the ads. So for a 1-month campaign, we have brought more than 6,000 traffic on both on and offline store, and the cost per visit is around $5 RMB. I want to introduce a concept of the recency and frequency when we are using location data. So recency, that means how fresh the data is, and for frequency, how often would the people go back to the store. This is very unique metrics for using location data. when we identify gap potential orders, we want to identify people who have been to the store before the pandemic period. That's why we use the past 3 months data in order to make the suggestions. For frequency, we want to ensure people are fashion lovers. So that's why we are analyzing the data and identify people who have been to the store at least 1 time per month in order to fully utilize the budget during the pandemic period. The second case I want to share with you is Harbour City. Not sure if you are familiar with these terms. It is a very popular shopping malls, luxury shopping malls in the business district. Of course, during the lockdown period, people are staying more time at home, but at the same time, some of the people, they still have to go to the work. Since Harbour City used to be very popular among tourists and very popular among the CBD area when people go to the work, and they also have lunch in there. But with the government social distancing policy and group gathering of 4 in place, it is very difficult for the attendants, especially for the restaurant, to survive during the pandemic period. Let's check out what do they do in order to overcome this. So the goal of this campaign is to drive the traffic to the restaurant. In order to make the most of the media budget become effective, we only target people who have work in there or live nearby. Because people who just doing window shopping or casually shopping during the weekend, they are no longer going back to the shopping mall during the weekdays. So we identify people who work or live nearby the mall by excluding people who visit the shopping mall during the weekends time. At the same time, we also rely on the messages, which is takeaway service provided by Harbour City. They also work with a third-party delivery company to allow the people to order their food online or pick up offline. So at the same time, they also provide a coupon for people to in order to encourage people to use it as a redemptions. All in all, the campaign has reached out 6,000 people and has more than 10% of the engagement rate because of the very high incentive offer. Let's look at what did they do in recency and frequency. In order to make our targeting more precise, we only target people who work in the office and live nearby. So we look in the data in past 3 months, and we set a frequency of 3 times per week. People have to work or live in the selected location at least 3 times in order for us to push the promotion code. We want to be more precise. We don't want to give out the promotion code to everyone who has seen the ads. Lastly is Marriott groups. You may think hospitality is the most affected segments during the pandemic periods. That's true. But at the same time, Marriott Group, this case is coming from Japan. Japan is also affected a lot due to COVID-19. But at the same time, they allocate more resources on promoting F&B, food and beverage services instead of room booking. Because F&B used to be relied on the domestic market instead of tourists who travel to Japan or travel from other city to the key city in Japan. This is one of the strategy Marriott want to achieve, is to promote the seasonal menus. One of the observation we see is people spend less time outside. They become more selective on their dining options. At the same time, those most decent restaurants are surprisingly getting more popular during the COVID-19 periods because people has less time to dine out. When they dine out, they try to pursue more decent menus. So we want to identify the high net worth group in Japan by analyzing the F&B as well as the high-end bar and restaurant in Japan. We promote them on social media, especially on Instagram, because a lot of these Marriott Group restaurants are very popular amongst Instagrams. And we track how many people visit the selected venues after seeing the ads. And the offline conversion has high more than 4%. Let's look into the frequency and recency. What do they do? We identify people go to their own restaurants, competitor restaurant, as well as luxury store. We believe that we can upsell people, the luxury shoppers, to try out the exquisite dining experience on Marriott. And in order to ensure people are hardcore to try out, we identify people who have visited this location at least 2 times per month. We believe people still going out to shops and going out to the fancy restaurant 2 times during the pandemic period. These groups are very hardcore and likely to enjoy the offer from Marriott. So that is our sharing today. I hope these 3 cases can shed some light for your clients or for your team in order to take COVID from a challenge to opportunity. I will pass it to V.
Hey, thank you very much, Roger, Zoe, and Adrian. That was extremely interesting and insightful, actually. I think probably one interesting aspect that seems that all 3 of you raised is that people are getting very more precise in the way that they shop. They make a more deliberate choice when they go to a mall, and they're also willing to travel a little bit farther to get to it. So when it comes to communication to them, it becomes way more important to be able to target them in the right way. If I can go back to the previous slide, please. And that's exactly why we're bringing this offering together with the Cosmose AI and the ADA. It's going to be rolled out in South and Southeast Asia, and it's already active in Indonesia. So do feel free to talk with us if you are interested in understanding how you could use it. I'm also very much interested in understanding why Adrian Tan needs a hairspray, but probably that's a question for a different time. And now we're going to switch to your questions. So thanks to those of you who submitted questions already. You are still on time if you want. We're going to spend the next 12 minutes or so answering them. So again, through the Q&A button. And as you add a few more, I'm going to start passing a few questions to our fantastic panelists. Probably starting with Adrian. There are a few questions that I've tried to understand the type of data and how actually we understand about the behavior of people. One anonymous attendee asks, how can your data help with the rollout of services like curbside or order online? So I'll probably let you answer this one first. Adrian Tan.
Thanks, Vittorio. I think there are several products that we have, but they want to put it up there. Like if you saw the
Adrian, you are on mute, so you may need to roll back your answer.
Oh, am I on mute?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, you are not on mute. I cannot hear you. So please go ahead. I'm going to fix my audio.
Okay. Thanks, Vittorio. So with the rollout of services on curbside and online and pickup stores, we do have several products like the location planner that kind of looks at mobility of people in your target audiences, and we generate it with heat maps during different times of the day. So for example, if you saw in one of the slides, I think we were looking at mobility of people going to malls in Kuala Lumpur. You will be able to see that, hey, actually my target audiences are moving between these vicinities. Coupled with Cosmose solution together with the ADAs, you can actually look at inside a retailer as well as outside a retailer, so you can understand those mobilities. So that's my short and sweet answer, I guess.
Thank you, Adrian. And probably adding to that one for Zoe, actually. They're asking if ADA and Cosmos can actually seamlessly track the customer journey from offline footfall to online behavior.
Yeah, so thanks for that question. So obviously, with the partnership with ADA in Southeast Asia, we have the capability to do that simply because we have the offline piece, and we're able to track whether people are going online. So with the online, I guess, solution that ADA that will provide, we can look at also both online and offline analytics together. So very powerful. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent to hear, and probably that's the secret of putting together offline and online. And if I can also ask the panelists, please, to mark the questions as answered as you respond to them, so that we're going to clean up the list. A question for you, Zoe, again on China this time. They're asking whether maybe with the third wave that is happening in Malaysia and in the region, is China the best example to follow?
I think for I guess like rebound, Hong Kong, both Hong Kong and China. China obviously the economy is slightly different, I think. Also, maybe some media is not saying a lot about the cases, but from working in China and also working with our colleagues in China, we can see that the pace of life has already been resumed to pretty much normal. People are not really wearing masks anymore. People are going out more often. Obviously, there's still this precaution that's taking place, you know, in traveling in terms of like the measures that they take. But I do think that China is a good example to look at from just from looking at how people are traveling and how people are behaving again post-COVID. So definitely.
And it was interesting to hear from you, Zoe, about all the travel that was done right after the lockdown was released. We experienced a similar situation in Malaysia, with many places almost fully booked. And as people probably know, Malaysia is just unfortunately, or part of Malaysia just restarted a lockdown for the capital city and the state around the capital. Hopefully this one will not last for too long. Of course, with using data like this, there is always the concern of privacy. Adrian, I'll pass this one to you. Is there any privacy concern on the use of this tool or this technology?
So the thing about both ADA's and Cosmose's tools, we do not store private information. Hence, there is no real privacy concerns. I think we do work with a lot of partner apps that have already background tracking in place, but we do not know who you are, but we know what type of person you are, where you go and whatnot. But whether your name, your phone number, and the things like that, it's non-PII, so we do comply with all PDPA aspects in terms of tracking.
Yeah,
and, Roger or Zoe?
Yeah, I want to add on this because this is one of the most frequently asked questions. Maybe Roger, you can take this.
From technical perspective, when we are partnered with the apps, we have to comply with the legality of each market. And opt-in or opt-out is the very normal practices when we are setting our privacy policy. This is one. And second, as bring up by Adrian, the data we collect is only resonating footprints. We are not collecting any things related to PII, such as your name, telephone, or ID number. So we are, and thirdly, it's about the safety of the data. We also hash those data. Even it is a one-way, irreversible way to handle the data, and the data will be stored within a safe server in your own jurisdictions. So of course, it is a most frequent answer. It depends on what is your concern, and we can address accordingly.
And probably that's something that I want to stress even more, that privacy really top concern, and the simple way that we address this is to avoiding to store any type of PII data.
Yes,
that we stay way clear of any such risk. And somebody is asking about how many devices are actually being used or part in a way of the Cosmos / ADA network. I'll let Zoe.
We need to do the math, V's, but for Cosmos, we have 1 billion device at the moment. So adding what you guys will be tracking, we will be above that number, hopefully.
Globally.
Globally, yes.
Globally, yes.
Yeah.
And Adrian from ADA?
Depending on which countries, but we generally cover 80 to 90% of GPS locations or the population of those countries.
Excellent. And I see that we finished the questions on the Q&A. If you do have more questions, please ask them. I know that some of you asked questions as they enrolled to the webinar, so I'm going to pass a couple of them to our panelists. Probably the first one for Zoe. If you can talk about how FMCG suppliers can use digital marketing efficiently.
So this is a really good question because, you know, we have worked with some FMCG clients previously, and a lot of the FMCG clients generally want to focus in the mass and only targeting mass. So all the targeting strategy on a digital marketing perspective has always been, who can I get the most? But it's not really going down to who should I target most. So from I would say working with our clients and also, you know, with different teams across Asia, we do believe that if you can combine offline analytics and obviously online behavioral, putting two data points together to find your customer segment, this will be a really good way to help you to narrow down, to find the right people. Therefore, you will have better results in return. So that's my take on this question. Yes.
So again, data is extremely important in this, and on that point, and Nathan is asking Adrian how to tap on data and analytics to better engage customers. That's a big ADA.
The short answer is, I guess data in itself are like building blocks. Is how you like to build your house. If you know how you like your house to look like, we can build the data according to what your target audiences are. So like, I think what Zoe mentioned and what we are talking about as well, as we continuously learn about the customers that you are dealing with, and you have a little bit of knowledge on their behaviors online and offline, then you'll be able to engage them a little bit better to push out either messaging or even the strategy around your business on how it could improve to resonate a little bit more with your customers. So yeah, it depends on you, and we can help you on that journey as well.
All right, thanks for that, Adrian. And I think this is drawing us to the end of today's webinar. I wanted to remind everybody in the audience that the webinar will be made available in recording through the websites of ADA and Cosmos AI. So feel free to share with your friends, colleagues, and family. I wanted to thank the three panelists today, Roger, Adrian, and Zoe. Thank you very much for sharing the insights.
Thank you, V, for moderating. It's been wonderful. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, everyone.
Also, on behalf of ADA and Cosmos AI, I really wanted to thank all of you who have come today to the webinar. Take care, stay safe, and stay sane. Goodbye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.